In this video, we're going to talk about another powerful tool that gives you the ability to look inside of the running state of your program, which is the Sources tab in the Chrome DevTools. As I've said before, one of the key goals in building a program is to construct a mental model of how the program runs. In the context of a programming process, this is important to understand deeply the logic that you've created and also to fix errors. In a learning context, this is super important to bring your knowledge to the next level of how the system runs and all the properties of a given piece of syntax or mechanic of a control structure. A debugger is a tool that allows you to run your program and then pause it at any given specific point in order to examine the values. Debugger tools exist for most platforms and languages, and this is the most powerful tool you can use in order to examine every single mechanic, every single point of your program if you need to. So far, the technique we've been using to see inside of what our programs are doing is console.log. However, console.log is rather limited because we don't get to see all the values, we don't get to see all the control flow, and we only get to see these values after the program is done running. So let's see an example of running the debugger. I've cloned a new copy of the starter code, and I've opened the script.js in VS Code, and I've also copied the makeDeck function and also the shuffle cards function into my script.js. So what I'm going to do now is create the deck and shuffle it and take one card out of the deck. And we're going to display that in the gray box. And then we're going to see this run inside the DevTools. Let's see this in the browser. Now, when I click the Submit button, I expect to see the deck generated, and I expect to see a card in the gray box. And whenever I click the Submit button, I expect a new deck to be generated and a new card to get displayed in the gray box. Next, I'm going to implement highCard. So I'm going to pop another card off the deck, and then I'm going to compare the two cards. Let's save this and see it in the browser. Now when I click the Submit button, I expect to see two cards drawn, the deck generated in the console, and the result of the comparison in the gray box. Next, we're going to suppose that there's some error in the game. I'm going to write some console logs that examine all the values that the game deals with. Now when I click the Submit button, I expect to see the same value in the gray box, but for my other console logs to appear over here. So if this were a situation where I were looking for these values in order to debug something, to examine these values, one problem I already have is that there's a lot of console logs, and so seeing the sets of values that I've outputted here is difficult. One way I could have solved this problem is simply taking out some of these console logs or taking them out from the makeDeck function. However, that's not always a possibility. If I have a problem inside my makeDeck function, then I might want to look at all 52 values to see what the problem is. But with the debugger, then I can actually just pause inside the program. So let's take a look at that.